Exciting news for Star Wars Galaxies fans is that Raph Koster, the game's design lead, is building a new MMO. Little is known about the game as of yet, but Koster has recently been doing the rounds of gaming websites talking about his design ideas for what appears to be a next-generation social sandbox game. Drawing on his many experiences as an industry veteran, not just designing MMOs but creating AR and social games for Facebook and Google and consulting and lecturing on game design in general, he hopes to bring back the kind of diverse gameplay seen in games like Star Wars Galaxies. Speaking to Gameindustry.biz, Koster said, "When I look at what happened with MMOs, it feels like it's really fallen into a template, and it's a pretty old template. Let's party up, let's kill some monsters, we'll level up and then rinse repeat." And we know from seeing how sandboxy play has evolved over the decades that online players want to do way more than just that. And those other ways to play really not only broaden the audience, but they make the alternate world really come alive. Music to the ears of not just Star Wars Galaxies fans, but fans of Koster's other classic MMO hit, Ultima Online. And for that matter, players in general who lament some of the developments in the online space which have led to many games feeling like shallow murder boxes, with little more than levels and loot boxes to compel players to keep going. Surely there must be more to online gaming than this. Koster seems to think so. It feels to me like everything we do in a game as a service needs to be driven around the idea that you're building a community, building for the long haul and building a relationship of trust between the operator and the player. The fact that we've landed someplace where there are lawsuits or legislation around loot boxes tells me we took a wrong turn somewhere along the way. This comment speaks to the fact that Koster's approach to MMO game design has always been about building community and connections between players first. For him, the social glue is what keeps players returning to a game, not the need to log in to do your dailies. It's fair to say that the direction MMOs have evolved is not the direction Koster and certain of his peers envisioned or wished for, but the argument could be made that their desire for a diverse virtual world with many activities available to players in addition to combat will be simply too unfocused to appeal to any one audience. Koster doesn't believe this to be the case, however, and the $2.7 million his company Playable Worlds has secured in funding would suggest certain people believe him. When I look across games today, what I see is games about crafting, fashion play, timed re-engagement, social play, basically a whole lot of things that are old tropes of sandbox MMO play. Multiple generations have grown up with sandbox play now. Kids who played RuneScape are in their 30s, kids who played Minecraft are in their 20s, and Roblox is already a decade old. We are seeing demand for sandboxy play all over the place, so I think it is very much of the moment. Heck, when I look at something like GTA Online, what I see is players role-playing cops and bus drivers and whatnot in there. A modern sandbox alternate world that has space for all sorts of players to play together, that feels to me very much like something that resonates now. This to me is exciting stuff. I've wanted a sandbox game like SWG, like Ultima, but also, evolving them into the future and seeing what new things can be added and what lessons learned from the past. But in the interest of balance, it's worth mentioning some of the legitimate complaints levelled at sandbox games, past and present. They are often directionless, difficult for new players to get a handle on. Their multifarious systems and activities often result in unfinished or buggy games being pushed to market. A recent comment by Koster in a TNW Q&A regarding bugs in games and their unintended consequences suggests that he may not be fully cognizant of the impact of recent games like Fallout 76 on the general mood of gamers who are tired of paying for buggy or half-completed projects. Either you build in those things by hand laboriously or you let them emerge. I prefer to do it with emergent systems with unpredictable results rather than outright bugs if possible. That's a smiley face there. But even with a bug, ask yourself as a designer whether it adds charm, new dynamics, and whether it hurts things as a whole. Often the answer is to embrace it rather than fix it. Now, he's not advocating releasing a buggy game by any means, but the tone of the statement could be taken the wrong way by certain people, and at a time when you're trying to build confidence, it's perhaps not a good idea to take it so lightheartedly. Gamers have been burnt so many times. The days when you can joke about this kind of thing are kind of gone.
We have had an incredibly exciting year at Bethesda Game Studios. Given some of that excitement, impressed you're still here.
Nevertheless, I'm excited for what Raph Koster has in store, and I might as well admit to being something of a fanboy. I have watched his lectures and keynote speeches at GDC for years, and he has a lot of insightful and also heartening ideas about why people play games and the positive impact they can have on people's lives. Anecdotally, for me, this was literally the case when I played Star Wars Galaxies in the early 2000s. It taught me how to be a part of an online community, provided a place where I felt I belonged when things in real life, they were not so great. More lately, through playing Star Wars Galaxies emulators and doing these YouTube videos, Star Wars Galaxies has again introduced me to a new group of people, a new community. I'd say I've experienced many of Koster's principles in game design firsthand, and they've always had a positive impact apart from waiting for Star Wars Galaxies to load during the beta and hoping that it would let me log in. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. I'm really looking forward to learning more about Raph Koster's new game, and I hope you are too. I'm going to be following Playable Worlds on Twitter, and I hope to report back when new developments happen. So if you feel like subbing up for that sort of thing, please do. Before I go, I just want to share this clip from a speech Koster made at GDC in 2017. It's always stuck with me, and it kind of typifies his attitude to the creation of online worlds and the responsibility of the people who create them. Theirs is a business, of course, and they are business people, whether they like it or not, but that doesn't mean ethics should be thrown out the window. Some things are more important than money.
I want to tell you an anecdote that happened while speaking with an extremely powerful and famous executive at a very large blue company whose last name starts with Z and ends with Zuckerberg. I was interviewing for a job there. And I had talked with people all day long, and last interviews with him. And he says to me, well, I've heard good things from everybody all day, and everybody's been asking you questions for 8 solid hours, so what questions do you have for me? And I said to him, well, I'd like to know your opinion. What do you think are the social and ethical implications of social virtual reality and connected augmented reality? This was his answer. I may have ranted at him for a little while and then not gotten the job, but I also would not have taken it at that point, and probably will never work for them again now that I've said that.